Kamehameha stands as one of the most important and internationally renowned Hawaiian monarchs in Polynesian history, and his death in May 1819 remains one of the most profound and crucial events in the nation's history. But how exactly did this fearsome unifier of the Hawaiian Islands and powerful warrior king meet his final end? And in this comprehensive analysis, we will be doing a deep dive into several different theories regarding the death of King Kamehameha, and through an in-depth examination of the historical record and contemporary documents, we will attempt to answer the question, what was the cause of death for this great Hawaiian king? But before we begin, don't forget, if you want to find out more about the deaths of some of history's greatest historical figures, subscribe to my channel Historical Exit. As was previously established, Kamehameha was one of the most powerful, experienced, and well-respected military leaders in Pacific history, and he would be at the absolute pinnacle of his authority in the early 1800s when he had successfully united all of the Hawaiian Islands under his singular rule by successfully utilizing his masterful knowledge of Western firearms and foreign military tactics developed through decades of interaction with European traders, American merchants, and British naval commanders. With this unprecedented international experience behind him and his reputation as Hawaii's first great modernizing monarch, Kamehameha had become a formidable political innovator who could seamlessly blend European administrative techniques alongside traditional Hawaiian governance systems. However, though, by early 1819, Kamehameha's physical condition would begin to deteriorate as he entered his final illness at approximately 69 years of age, forcing the great king to confront his own mortality and question the future stability of his unified kingdom. Kamehameha would spend his final weeks preparing for the inevitable transition of power while battling what contemporary sources describe as a prolonged and debilitating illness that would ultimately claim the life of Hawaii's greatest ruler. And during the early stages of his final illness in April 1819, Kamehameha would summon his most trusted European advisor, Francisco de Paula Marin from Honolulu, to attend to his deteriorating health. Don Francisco's presence at the royal compound represents the intersection of European and traditional Hawaiian medical practices during this pivotal moment. And multiple Hawaiian and European sources record that his illness progressed with devastating severity as both traditional Hawaiian healers and European trained physicians attempted to save the king's life. But Kamehameha's advanced age had rendered him vulnerable to what contemporary accounts suggest was most likely a stroke or a similar type of cerebrovascular event. And during the climactic moments of his final illness on that fateful morning of May 8, 1819, it is recorded that Kamehameha died when his body finally succumbed to his prolonged illness. And our arguably most reliable contemporary medical assessment of Kamehameha's death comes to us from Don Francisco de Paula Marin, the Spanish physician and botanist who served as Kamehameha's personal medical advisor and confidant. And this European medical source provides crucial first-hand observations that make clear the gradual nature of the king's decline, recording that despite his best efforts at employing Western medical techniques, Marin was unable to halt the progression of what appeared to be a stroke or similar age-related condition. Additionally, Marin's account also heavily emphasizes the dignity and composure with which Kamehameha faced his final illness, though he provides limited detail about the king's specific medical symptoms, with Francisco simply stating in his biography that the great king's strength gradually failed him until his body could no longer sustain the burden of his years. So although the European medical accounts may provide our most clinical based assessment of King Kamehameha's passing, the most detailed and culturally significant account of the king's death comes to us from Samuel Kamakaua, the renowned Hawaiian historian whose writings preserve the oral traditions passed down through generations of Hawaiian chroniclers. And this traditional Hawaiian source provides a stirring description which emphasizes Kamehameha's extraordinary dignity and undiminished presence even in his final moments, describing the scene as follows. When he died, his body was still strong, his eyes were not dimmed, his head unbowed, nor did he lean upon a cane. It was only by his grey hair that one could tell his age. the king maintained his regal bearing until the very end, never allowing weakness to compromise his royal dignity. This account highlights that the king maintained his mental clarity and royal composure right until the end, reinforcing that Kamehameha's death was more ceremonial and meaningful than the simple medical decline suggested by European clinical observers. Therefore, based on the primary and nearest to the event sources we have available, it is most reasonable to conclude that Kamehameha the Great died peacefully from an age-related illness, most likely a stroke, and that he most certainly passed away from natural causes at 69 years of age. So I hope you found this video on the death of King Kamehameha to be fascinating and educational. Please do like and share this video with others, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe to my channel Historical Exit so you can find out more about the deaths of some of history's greatest figures. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day. Bye.